we see the same dangers of the concentration of technology, power, and wealth. You know, his farewell address, President Eisenhower spoke of the dangers of the military-industrial complex. He warned us then about, and I quote, the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power, end of quote. 6 decades later, I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech-industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit.
Howdy, folks. This is another episode of the Chug Life Podcast. Yesterday we spoke about the Epstein list being released, and, well, ladies and gentlemen, it was a huge nothing burger. They released the same flight logs that have been public for ages. But I did want to talk further about this. This is, it's still a lot to talk about just because of the refresher. I want to walk through this and kind of, help myself understand it more and help you guys understand it more. So here is the main crux of this whole issue regarding the flight logs. Is that this is the part that's meant to be, Bill Clinton's on here a bunch of times. It's meant to be, all of these Democrats and, super left-wing rich guys are on here. But it just ends up being a complete nothing burger. As I mentioned, it is the usual suspects. Bill Clinton's on there a handful of times. So is Donald Trump. They're both with family at the time. Now, I do want to talk about what that means. Just off the jump, I don't believe that these are the truthful flight logs. I think that there's a lot that's been left out. So we don't really know the totality of these visits. We don't know if it's more than just these 7 times, these 8 times, and we don't know the range of these visits. So these flight logs would have only been contained for the island, which is the big part where I'm confused, because I would like to know the entire flight logs of the jet itself. The Lolita Express. So that is what we want to know. And on top of that, what I think would be really, really good to get to the bottom of is why these lists keep getting dribbled out. And it's the same shit. Who's doing this? And, I think at the end of the day, it's very obvious. It's Trump. Or people close to him that want to keep this shit out of the limelight because they're in there way too fucking much. Now, here's the part that really interests me. Okay? So if these are just the flight logs between, the jet to the island, as far as I'm aware, what is going to be the increase in numbers when they finally release the visits that jet's been to everywhere, And so I'm going to talk through some stuff. I specifically, I want to just get started with the fact that Trump and Epstein were essentially partners, in my opinion. And there is a much closer connection than we have yet to find out. And I think that that's why there's so much specificity going into trying to name the Bill Clintons of the world in these lists and talking about this and putting more light on Prince Andrew than the current sitting and returning president of the United States, who also happens to have a fuck ton of rape allegations on the side. As if it doesn't correlate, you know? But here's the thing, is that as a left-winger, you can recognize that correlation, but as a right-winger, you could not, until it smacks you dead in the fucking face. And even then, let's just hope that our brothers can pull out of their slumber and recognize that they voted for a fucking rapist and a pedophile. And on top of that, you have enablers sitting left and right of him. All right? Everybody here is aware of who Linda McMahon is. Everybody here is aware of who Elon Musk is. These are both people that are in close contact with people that have been accused of really horrible sexual crimes. Vince McMahon on Linda's side, and of course, Elon and Trump. We're not going to ignore this. Even as new to the public as this relationship can look, I refuse to believe that these guys weren't pals before, and that this just sprung up out of necessity. One day Elon woke up and said, "Oh my God, I gotta save the USA." Fuck no. I think he woke up and somebody told him, "Hey buddy, you're being investigated by 3 different agencies for all the fucked up shit you're doing." And I'd say you probably got about a year until you come clean and you fork over some serious money to deal with this. And now here's one thing I can tell you for certain when it comes to the uber rich. Okay? The Elon Musks of this world, they absolutely penny pinch like we do. And in some cases, it can be way worse because it's your life on the line when they penny pinch. Think about that. The realization for me is mostly the fact that Elon Musk has put on such a great facade of separation from politics that everybody believed him. And at the end of the day, it's very easy to see that as, me, who is, I would say, pretty deep into this shit, and you guys, who I would say pretty deep into this shit. But your friends, other folks out there who would look at him directly as a billionaire, as a successful entrepreneur, successful businessman, that's all they care about. And at the end of the day, that's all that needs to happen to be qualified as a decent person or a smart person or, whatever, in order to be into that succession line, so to speak. And listen, we all understand that Elon isn't going to be president. Elon's not going to be actively in government, blah, 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 blah. He is still over the shoulder of the current sitting president. All right. They're on each other's speed dial. So, consider this guy has a direct line to the Oval Office anytime, every time, whenever he wants. Now, keep in mind, this is a guy that has been investigated and is possibly currently being investigated. So, how useful would that be? Well, let's ask Trump, right? This is a guy who famously was fighting for his life before the election. Fighting for his life after he lost. I still remember to this day watching that man walk to Marine One and just his bow tie slumped down. He just looked defeated, done with. He'd been telling everybody he wasn't going to leave for the previous, fucking 3 weeks. "Oh, I'm not going to leave. Oh, no, never going to leave." Well, that went really well. So, That guy comes back after also being investigated, after also facing legal battles and continuing to face legal battles, and immediately issues out 1,800 plus pardons for violent criminals that were fucking the Capitol up during January 6th, when he directed them to go and stop the vote. Oh, they're stealing your vote. You know, there's a bunch of people in there. Just go and say hi. Nothing will happen. Consider that there is thousands upon thousands of people that have been told for the past month and some change, hey, your vote was stolen. You know, they just grabbed that shit and tossed it in the trash. It's worth nothing. And so now they've shown up thousands of miles away from their homes to rack up criminal charges in the District of Columbia. Now, do I find that deeply ironic? Abso-fucking-lutely. I find it interesting as well that a criminal is pardoning criminals, and then those criminals are leaving and then going back to jail because they're fucking criminals. They haven't served their time. They are not remorseful. They have not learned. And as far as rehabilitation goes, I don't think that's how it works, man. I don't think that the guy that beat the shit out of Michael Fanone for trying to stop people from entering the rotunda of the Capitol during a fucking hearing or a voting session to certify the election, I don't think that guy should be out and taunting Michael Fanone in the days after his release, out in front of the Capitol, a free man. Can you imagine that? Let's just be a right-winger for a second, as somebody that purports to support cops, to support the law, to support, order as a whole. They fan these flames every day, every time that they go and open their mouth to speak about current events. They fan the flames to hurt law and order, to bring down law and order. Because that's what their president has told them to do. That's what their president does. He's not a law and order president. He's the most lawless president we have seen ever. And it's not even, it literally is not a form to measure. Like, there is not any previous precedent. Like, this is all unprecedented. Okay? Him assigning random whack jobs from news TV to hold important posts in defense and intelligence. Him assigning people that have outright been outed for years as Russian sympathizers, as Assadist sympathizers, cultists. Yeah, we're talking about you, Gabby Tulsi Gabbard. I almost called her Gabby. Ugh, it would almost be better. Tulsi, good God. What a sack of shit. Then you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, another sack of shit. I'm so glad that she didn't get a cabinet position. Although, it might have benefited her constituents in Georgia. It might have benefited Georgia for once. Maybe. But we're past that. She's now running hearings like she's an actual fucking politician. Now, I guess it's better than her spending her time fucking around. She's actually trying to work. So kudos to her for that. But I'm still very disappointed in where the government is. Nonetheless, it is a huge catastrophe, a huge failure amongst everybody. We should all be ashamed. Every day we have to live with the shame. That's just how this works. That is the unfortunate reality. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the fun shit. All right. I said that we would read some of this Epstein docs. Okay, some of you were interested in knowing a bit about what this means and what, it really just signals to the world and pedophiles alike. So this list, this document specifically, is a statement of undisputed facts. And essentially, it is from 2011. It was compiled, started in 2005 and some change. Now, this case was brought by the lawyers of the victims of Jeffrey Epstein after they had really unlucky bouts. In other cases, they had wanted to kind of compile this list and, just put it out. So, trigger warning. This is related to child sexual assault. I will not be going over too much of it because I just want to give you guys the gist of how much of a piece of shit Jeffrey Epstein is, and remind you guys that the current sitting president knew about this shit. All right, there is no undisputed fact about that. He knew about this shit. He maybe didn't know about all of the stuff in this document, but it's been confirmed that he sexually assaulted kids with Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein pled the fifth to that question, amongst a million others. Okay? But just want to put that out there. That is the undisputed fact. Is that one, Jeffrey Epstein and Donald were friends. Two, they partied together. We have video and photo of that, as well as audio of Trump going, I know he likes younger girls, but he's fun to be around. So, what does that tell you, right? Consider, let's look at Trump as a pedophile. If you know this, and you know that he's fun to be around, and that's what you're saying, just consider what that it could imply. In the bigger picture of things, considering what we know today and who we know Trump to be. All right. So for all of your specific reading purposes, if you would like to pull this document up, I'm going to go ahead and read out the case numbers for this and the document numbers, as well as the plaintiff and defendants, so you guys can research this and read the entirety of the statement of undisputed facts if you'd like. Although I do not recommend it, just take me at my word. Jeffrey Epstein was a hardcore piece of shit. Hardcore piece of shit. All right? And everybody and anybody involved in him was also a hardcore piece of shit. This is why I'm so fervent about my belief against Donald Trump. Okay? He is a friend of the biggest, single-handedly most destructive piece of shit for women in centuries. All right. So, case number 09-34791-RBR. Filed April 8th, 2011. Exhibit C. Epstein versus Edwards, Undisputed Statement of Facts. Document 1603-3. Jeffrey Epstein, plaintiff, versus Scott Rothstein individually and Bradley J. Edwards individually. Defendant Bradley J. Edwards, Esquire, offers the following specific facts as the undisputed material facts in this case. Each of the following facts is numbered separately and individually to facilitate Epstein's required compliance with Florida R. Civ P 1510C. The adverse party shall identify any summary judgment evidence on which the adverse party relies. Basically, they have to give each other information about all this shit. So Epstein got this beforehand, before this was read out in court. He knew about all of this. So he would have known this before everything ended. This is something that he needs to be served with, is also what that means. So, 1, and this is just the statement of undisputed facts. Remember this. This is essentially a huge list compiled of undisputed facts through the court. There's hundreds of these that they compiled throughout their cases from every single victim. Every single victim. It is absolutely crucial that if you want to just get a sense of the brutality of what this scheme involved, and also why Ghislaine Maxwell is an absolute fucking disgusting cretin, you'll kind of begin to understand how fucking horrible the people that were associated to him are. So, let's start. Defendant Epstein has a sexual preference for young children. This was recorded in a deposition of Jeffrey Epstein on March 17th, 2010. Epstein repeatedly sexually assaulted more than 40 young girls on numerous occasions between 2002 and 2005 in his mansion in West Palm Beach, Florida. These sexual assaults included vaginal penetration. Epstein abused many of the girls dozens, if not hundreds of times. He invoked the fifth when he was asked how many times he engaged in oral sex with females under the age of 18. Now, this includes another deposition of a Jane Doe, one of the other victims, in 2009 and through 2010. She was sexually abused at least 17 times by Epstein. And she was also abused with the appearance of it being a massage. So these girls would go in to give a massage, and then they would get sexually molested by Epstein. Now, 2009. So this is still the early run of this section here. We're going through till about 2011, I believe, in this section. But we're also not going to get through all of it. This is specifically the sections in which he is going through a bunch of victims aged from 14 to 17, and these are all victims where he made them become prostitutes, essentially, for him. And this is, all entirely, some of the worst shit you could read. So I'm just, going to kind of not touch on a lot of those things. But there are some women on here that he sexually assaulted hundreds upon hundreds of times. And way before the age of 18. So the totality of this should not be missed, by any means. This is some of the most gruesome shit that you could do to human beings. Now, the worst parts to this, in my opinion, end up turning throughout this as he's asking him questions. because they compile the deposition into this as well. As I mentioned, this is the entirety of the court case. So this is hundreds upon hundreds of questions and, a bunch of really good information about the case. And it just shows you also how much Palm Beach as a whole, the police and the city failed these women. It is unbelievable. Now, the really, iffy stuff about this is the fact that he never answered any questions. Never. I don't think I've seen one where he answered a question, aside from invoking the fifth. I do want to state that one of the things that popped out to me, too, was he was asked, hey, do you want to refute any of this? Does any of this sound false? He invoked the fifth, too. So there's that. What does that say for you? Now, these victims, there are much younger victims. They can range from the ages of 11 to 15 in this specific passage. So, as far as being a piece of shit goes, yeah. Fuck Epstein, man. So, the really shitty part is that before Ghislaine, as far as I'm aware, there were other women that were put into those specific positions to hunt for more talent, to recruit for more talent. These were younger girls that would bring their friends, and their lives would change. And absolutely in the worst ways. And I do want to state as well, Jeffrey Epstein is a convicted pedophile. So let's just put that out there. Donald Trump has ties to a convicted pedophile. Very closely. People voted for that. I cannot fucking believe it. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I do not want to read much more of this, aside from the information I've given you, just because it is just a real bummer, and I don't really feel like reading all of this today. Again, I read through it once, a little bit of it, just so I could give you guys general gists and general pieces of information that I thought maybe would, if you were on the fence about reading this, now you're going to go ahead and pull up that link. I do think there's going to be more to come out. They've stated, they've put out letters between Pam Bondi and Kash Patel to try and get this information released. I don't believe either one of them knows what the fuck they're doing, frankly. I don't think that either one of them wants to actually release these lists, these documents, mainly because the show that they put on when they released the flight logs, they brought in famous right-wing influencers and gave them 4 binders labeled Phase 1. Okay? And these fuckers came out and waved this shit around, fucking laughed, smiled, took a picture, the whole shindig, acting like fucking receiving all of this information about victims and rape victims and rape abusers, all this shit. They're fucking laughing and smiling with this shit. It's incredible. Just the lack of decorum amongst the right to just, God, be a fucking human being. Just tone it the fuck down, man. Why are you smiling holding a binder that details some of the worst sexual abuse crimes in history of our states? Like, it's unreal. It's unreal. I'd recommend you all check it out. I'm pretty sure it's just the worst people you know holding binders smiling. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's Libs of TikTok and Jack Posobiec were some of the one of like two of the four. And I don't give a shit to find out who the others are, frankly. It's just very infuriating, you know. I just every time this shit happens, I'm just like, these guys are such clowns. You know, the foolery that you as a person have to continuously keep up day after day after day to keep up this charade that everything is good, this is all fine. You know, these guys they have my best, you know, they have my benefit on their mind. You know, they're thinking about me when they're making these decisions. They're not cutting checks for the billionaires sitting next to them. No, they're thinking about Jimmy John all the way from Missouri. Oh, yeah. Or Tom from Florida. Yep. Absolutely, man. He is totally not handing a bunch of fucking handouts to Elon Musk and his buddies on his cabinet, who are all amongst the richest people. No, totally not. It's fine. At the end of the day, it's just another day with the Republicans in charge. And we've been here before. So what's new, right? What's new? Well, we have a bunch of fucking planes falling from the sky. And I think at the end of the day, when Trump goes and he's speaking about all of this, you know, tariffs and all of this shit, he doesn't realize how much that tanks stocks, how much that hurts the futures of the stock market. And, you know, that's something that directly affects a lot of us. And he doesn't realize that he's possibly doing some of the biggest damage to these systems. And unironically, maybe he does know. Maybe he doesn't care. But I'll be honest with you guys. I don't think it's going to last. Why? Well, stock market as a whole has been strong, you know, for a good while. It ebbs and flows and, you know, go here and it goes there. But eventually it makes it up. Eventually it's good. So I don't think stock market's going to keep dying. Generally, I do think it's going to be beneficial in the long run when you have these drops, because a lot of people buy in. And, you know, that's it's always a good thing to have market fluctuation just so other people can buy into the market that weren't able to buy in before. That's always a good thing. I do recommend anybody that's even remotely inclined to start trading to go ahead and pick up some penny stocks and start learning, man. You know, at the end of the day, if you want to try something new, you have to take the first step off of your current familiar standing and comfort zone. And I know stocks seem like a lot and, you know, seem really scary for people, but it's really not. Just start small. Start small, start comfortable, start researching what you want to buy, what you want to, you know, be bought into. And, yeah, let it rip, dude. Anyhow, back to Epstein list. Do I think that shit's going to come out today, the 28th? Absolutely fucking not. I think we've probably ended up seeing the last of the Epstein list for probably another couple of weeks. But that'll be a pleasant surprise for me. Don't even, I can't even start trying to imagine how much my head's gonna spin. I want to see if Biden is on this shit. All right, man. Like I extremely curious. My curiosity has absolutely gotten the best of me, and I want to see who's on it. So let's get that shit rolling, FBI. What the fuck? Now, last thing that I do want to talk about in regards to all of this shit coming out about Epstein. I want you guys to keep your eyes on the huge growth of people that will eventually be okay with what they've been given. You know, there's the same people that have been clamoring, oh, we're going to release it. Oh, they're going to release it. Oh, they're going to do it, for years, are suddenly okay with getting the same material they've had for years. So is it going to be something where, tomorrow they release it? I don't fucking think so. I genuinely do not think so. I think that they'll probably hold off on this as long as human. The FBI does not want this shit out. Keep in mind, the Attorney General's office is more the people's type deal, right? That's usually always seen as they want to put out a good front, keep law and order, the idea of law and order very high, keep it solid. The FBI doesn't give a shit about that public perception. They've been there before. So let's just all keep in mind, the FBI is like on the list of people that do not give a fuck. They're on the top. All right. The CIA doesn't even get that high. Okay. So they don't care that the public is going to keep hemming and hawing like we have for years upon years. But the politicians in power to get this done, the same ones that have said we will get it done, will not. Keep that in mind, okay? Trump specifically, Trump himself, I believe, has direct ties to not having this released. I believe he himself is withholding this information from being released because he knows it will fuck his life up. That's just me. Anyhow, that is going to do it for this episode of the Chug Life Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to present you some information about some stuff you may or may not end up hearing more about today. And maybe you'll have some more information on your side when you have that conversation broached. Who knows? I do look forward to getting back to interviews at some point soon. I currently do not have anything scheduled, and I will not be scheduling any interviews for the current and near future. It's just I have way too much stuff going on right now. I do want to continue talking about politics for another couple of months, possibly. I want to bring out some folks that I've been considering having on the podcast to broach some topics and help me gather and sort more information. But that will probably be later on rather than sooner. So, as always, thank you guys for checking us out. You guys are awesome. And I appreciate every single one of you guys checks us out. Have a good day, y'all.